Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Maisa Salma Fauziyah and I come from class 4C with the student identification number is 1245030076. So in this video I will do some presentation about Indonesian-English translation analysis that I do about two types of text. So I will analyzes the two types of text, that is expressive text and informative text. But before we go into the explanation, I will tell you about what I will explain actually. So the first thing that I will explain is the text type identification. So I will talk about the difference between the expressive and informative text, like the purpose and the focus of each text is different, so the translation approach, it will be different too. And then the next I will show you the search text that I chose and the translation that I did. And then I will talk about the method and then the strategy that I use to translation, and I will analyze it and explain why I choose the method or even the strategy when I try to translation each of text. And then I will also talk about the challenges that I found when I tried to when I try to translate this text. Okay, next. So the first thing that I will explain is about the type identification, like text type identification. So we're gonna talk about the two texts, informative and expressive. So informative text is aimed to deliver some factual and actual information, and the purpose itself is to convey factual and deliver some factual information. So the focus itself, the translation focus, is about the accuracy and then the clarity, terminology, and then the factual things, like because the focus is to inform the people, so it must to be factual. And meanwhile the expressive text is like text that's not only convey the meaning, but it also deliver the emotion. So the focus, the purpose is to deliver the emotion and then to express and then to show beauty of the words itself. So it's not only deliver meaning, but it's also shared emotion. So the focus itself, it will be different, and it will be focused on some imagery, figurative language, and then the feeling, the rhythm. It's gonna be we should play with the words more because it reaches some feeling and emotion. That's the difference between the two. Okay, the next slide is that we're gonna talk about the first type, that is an informative text. Now I have some search text from BMKG. It's about like earthquake knowledge. Judulnya adalah pengetahuan gempa bumi. And the original Indonesian text is gempa bumi adalah peristiwa bergetarnya bumi akibat pelepasan energi di di dalam bumi secara tiba-tiba yang ditandai dengan patahnya lapisan batuan pada kerak bumi. And my English translation is, an earthquake is an event in which the earth shakes as a result of the sudden release of energy within the earth, marked by fracturing of rock layers in the earth's crust. So in the general, I use some communicative translation method because the purpose of the informative text itself is to inform, it's to explain the, in this case it's to explain the scientific information to the target reader, so it should be communicative. So that's why I choose this method. But maybe you can see that it's kind of a little bit literal, but I'm not fully translated word by word because the Indonesian and the English structure is different. So I use some domestication. It's like I adjust the structure from Indonesian to the English to make it sound natural to the readers. But of course I will maintain the terminology and the scientific information from the search text. It's just different structures. Okay, now I will explain it one by one. So the first press, we can find word gempa bumi that I translate into earthquake. This method that I use is established equivalent because as we know that gempa bumi has some, the term itself, the terminology itself in English, that is earthquake. So it's established equivalent. And then let's move to peristiwa bergetarnya bumi, which I translated as an event in which the earth shakes. So in this case I use transposition because there is some switching, there is changing in the grammatically form to make it sound more naturally, grammarly flowy. But of course without changing the meaning, I still maintain the exact meaning as the search text. Okay, so the next press is akibat pelepasan energi that I translated into as a result of the release of energy. So in this part I use modulation, but as you can see maybe it's slightly literal, but instead of use for akibat, instead of use because or cause, I use as a result of to make some connection to the sentence before. So it's slightly different because akibat itu kan, akibat is indicates a cause, but it's a result of, it's it's clearly connects the shaking. The sentence before, it's about the shaking of the earth, and now we talk about the release of energy. So as a result of is the exact and the suit words that I use to make it more clearly connect. And then there is press di dalam bumi secara tiba-tiba that I translate as the sudden release of energy within the earth. As we can see the switching here. There is a changing in structure grammatical, like in this case I use transposition because the adverbial expression, which is tiba-tiba or suddenly, but it's become an adjective, sudden. So it's like there is adjustment in grammatical. And then the word dalam that I translate into within instead of choose in, because to make it like more appropriate in scientific explanation, like to make it kind of formally more scientific. And it also clearly shows like the release of energy. It's really from the within, from the inside the earth. And then there is also press, patahnya lapisan batuan, that I translate into fracturing of rock layers. The word patahnya translated into fracturing rather than I simply like breaking or broke or something. Why I choose the fracturing instead of breaking? It's because fracturings it's more appropriate, and there is sounds scientific, so it's like kinda establish equivalent. Okay, now we talk about the expressive text. And expressive text is not just to convey the meaning, but it's also like express the feeling and emotion. So we should pay attention to the tone, mood, and also meaning. And then there is also like imagery, like figurative language, and we have to play with the words to make a beauty of the words and to share the emotion and feeling to the readers. So let's see the original text. I use some poem from Cheryl Anwar with the title Taman, or in English Garden. So the original text is, taman punya kita berdua, tak lebar luas kecil saja, satu tak kehilangan lain dalamnya, bagi kau dan aku cukuplah. This garden is ours, yours and mine, no boundless fields, only a little space, yet neither soul fades from sight within it. For you and me, the small word is enough. That is the translation. So we can see the difference between it. Like in English, there is some addition word, and then it's longer than the search text. And so if we can see, I use like free translation because there is a lot of addition, and then also with a semantic approach, and then I didn't translate into word by word or literal method, because if we use literal methods in some expressive text, it's gonna be flat and unpoetic. So we have to play with words to make it more poetic and to create a beauty of the words. Okay, now let's see to the first line. I will explain it line by line. The first line is taman punya kita berdua, which I translate into this garden is ours, yours and mine. And in this case I use transposition because I have to change the structural grammatically. If we use some literal, it's just gonna be taman punya kita berdua, the garden that we have. it's unpoetic, and I have to change the structure and use some possessive pronoun like ours to create some, more flowy and natural, but also kind of some, there is a feelings of ours and possessiveness. And then if we can see, as you can see, there is an addition like yours and mine. This call it amplification method. Like I add some words that not exactly appears in the search text, but it's just to emphasize the tone, the mood, and the meaning of the, the the meaning that the speaker want to convey, the feeling of it. So the repetition, it's makes some kind of feeling of intimacy like yours and mine. It's to emphasize it. And then next to the second line, tak lebar luas, kecil saja. Did I translate it into no boundless field, only a little space. Here I use modulation because I change the point of view. I mean, the search text, it's directly said that the garden it's not wide, it's small. But here I use some contrast between the boundless field, like a massive field, contrast with the small little place. It's just to make it more poetic. So I try to, express the same idea, but just play with the figurative language of the contradiction between the fields and the small little space. I know it's kind of changed the point of view. I mean, the garden into suddenly the fields, but I think it has a same meaning. I mean, the exact meaning, it's just like it's not wide, it's small. And then the next is the third line, satu tak kehilangan lain dalamnya, that I translate into neither soul fades from sight within it. So here I use soul instead of a person. I mean, satu tak kehilangan lain, person to another, but I use soul to create some deep emotion. Like soul is just like a unite of a person, like united person into soul. So it's just to create deeper and emotional impression. And then we can also see fades from sight. This is I use discursive creation and modulation method because I want to recreate some imagery. Like if we can see this fades from sight is translation from kehilangan, but instead of use losing, I want to make some imagery, so I use fades from sight, so it appears more poetic. And then the final line is bagi kau dan aku cukuplah, and this is translated as for you and me this small world is enough. And again I use some amplification and discursive creation because I add some small world that not exact appears in search text, but I use it and I add the word world that not appears in search text because I want to emphasize and create that the garden, it's the private place that they share. And then maybe you can see for you and me it's a literal. Yeah, I said before that I don't want to use literal, but I think I have to use it sometimes because I use too many like addition words. And then there is press is enough. It's enough. It's the most important, I think, because that is the main message that the speaker want to say, that they have, I mean, they don't need to have some luxury place. Just a small place, it's enough for them. I think that the main meaning that the speaker want to share. So I think that's about the expressive text. And it's really hard actually to translate the expressive text, because I have to consider about the meaning and to, I mean, the playful word. I mean, it's hard to balancing about the accuracy and the poetic things between it. But I try my best. I mean, I maintain the main meaning, but play with some literary and figurative language, and I use method like amplification and descriptive creation, and also add some imagery and play with the words. And I think that is from me. I'm so sorry if there are many mistakes that I said. And thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.